This video is about Johannes Brahms' Violin Concerto in D major. I will explain the most important things about the work and the composer. Johannes Brahms composed his Violin Concerto in D major, Op. 77, between 1878 and 1879. It was his only violin concerto and was written at a time when Brahms was already a recognized composer. The work was inspired by the violinist Joseph Joachim, a friend of Brahms, who had asked him for a violin concerto. Brahms worked intensively on the concerto and sought advice from Joachim, who also took on the solo part at the premiere in 1879. The Violin Concerto in D major consists of three movements: a fast opening movement, allegro non troppo, a slow middle movement, adagio, and a virtuoso final movement, allegro giocoso, ma non troppo vivace. In addition to the solo violin, the instrumentation includes a large orchestra with strings, woodwinds, brass, and timpani. The concerto is characterized by a close interlocking of solo part and orchestra, with both partners working together on an equal footing. Brahms' Violin Concerto places the highest demands on the soloist and requires complete technical mastery of the instrument. The solo part is characterized by demanding double stops, runs, leaps, and rapid passages in high registers. At the same time, the concerto captivates with its expressive and cantabile melody, which gives the soloist room for individual interpretation. The orchestra is also challenging and takes on important thematic tasks. The Violin Concerto is characterized by a dense motivic work in which Brahms artfully processes and develops musical ideas. The main theme of the first movement is varied and transformed in many ways during the course of the concerto. There are also motivic references between the movements, which give the work a great inner unity. The main theme of the slow movement is particularly memorable, being introduced by the oboe and then taken up and developed by the solo violin. Brahms' Violin Concerto is characterized by a rich and sophisticated harmony, which is characterized by chromatic turns and unexpected modulations. Brahms uses the orchestral colors in a masterful way and uses the individual instruments in a targeted manner to create certain moods and atmospheres. The treatment of the winds is particularly impressive, as they often take on independent melodies and enter into a dialogue with the solo violin. Brahms' Violin Concerto is considered one of the most important and challenging works in the violin repertoire. It demands not only a perfect technique from the soloist, but also a great interpretative maturity and expressiveness. The concerto was enthusiastically received after its premiere and has since become a permanent fixture in the repertoire of great violinists. It has been recorded by many famous soloists, including Jaska Heifetz, David Oistrakh, and Anne-Sophie Mutter, and has been reinterpreted again and again. The Violin Concerto occupies a special place in Brahms's oeuvre, as it is his only concerto for a string instrument. At the same time, it shows Brahms at the height of his skill as a composer and orchestral director. The work is in the tradition of the great Romantic violin concertos by Beethoven, Mendelssohn, and Bruch, but also sets its own accents through the close interlocking of soloist and orchestra and the artful motivic work. Brahms' Violin Concerto has had a decisive influence on the development of the genre in the 20th century and is still considered a touchstone for every violinist. It has inspired many composers to write their own violin concertos, including Jean Sibelius, Alban Berg, and Dmitri Shostakovich. The concerto has also left its mark on popular culture and has been quoted in films and television series. The Violin Concerto is a work that has lost none of its fascination and impact to this day, and is constantly being rediscovered and reinterpreted. Brahms' Violin Concerto marks a high point in the history of the genre and has had a decisive influence on the development of the violin concerto in the 20th century. It shows Brahms as a composer who knew how to use the possibilities of the orchestra and the solo violin in a unique way and expanded the boundaries of the genre. The concerto is in the tradition of the great violin concertos of the 19th century, but also sets its own accents and points to the future. It is a work that places the highest demands on both performers and listeners, while at the same time inspiring with its beauty and expressiveness.